moderate a panel discussion on the topic of customer experience, the strategic imperative. May I request all our panelists to briefly introduce themselves?
Yeah. Thanks, Manoj. Good evening, everyone. I drive digital transformation and industry leadership for Bajaj Allianz General Insurance in my role as President and Head of Operations and Customer Service. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Mahinder Chawla. I am with Fincare Small Finance Bank. I head operations for Fincare Small Finance Bank, and as it is, and also head gold loans.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone, and great pleasure, Manoj. Thank you to you and the Banking Frontiers team. I work as a Chief Operating Officer with Manipal Cigna Health Insurance and been in this space for last 25 years and lead the entire back-end and front-end customer journeys. So great pleasure to be here.
I am Amancho. I head solution engineering for Freshworks. I'm also a board member of a couple of startups. One of them is in financial services. Right? And I'm winner of 2021 Okta Business Insider Tech Awards as well.
Okay.
Pleasure meeting all of you and speaking at this event.
Fantastic. Great to have you all. And I think we have a good mix, so that will enrich the discussion further. Given current trends and challenges from industry experts, what are the changes that you are seeing that are brought about by the pandemic, specifically to the CX part?
Sure. Great question. We've noticed across the BFI SI space that there's a change in the consumer behavior. We've seen around 70% of consumers reporting digital experience being, changing by all the brands that they utilize. 80% of consumers have started using digital channels more in 2020 and 2021 amidst the pandemic. And more than 50% of the organizations have created more content for customer engagement. So that's the real change from statistics perspective. And, it's about not really, kind of bombarding the customers with information, but what is relevant for the customer and solving the customer problem, being there for the customers, not only selling, but also trying and solving the problem amidst the pandemic is the experience that we've noted as a change, paradigm shift in the consumers' expectations and the mindset. And most importantly, the mantra is optimize, prioritize and humanize, as we know. And personalizing the experiences for our consumers across the segment has become, of critical importance, Manoj.
I agree with what Priya said, and I think I'll touch upon one aspect of what you said, which is touchless. Given that we are all working digitally and practicing social distancing, so CX is becoming touchless. And I'll give you two examples. One is the increasing use of voice. So our chatbot, for instance, is integrated with Alexa and Google Assistant. So customers can use voice to avail of services. You ask Alexa for a copy of the insurance policy, Alexa speaks to a bot, and the policy gets delivered to your email ID. That's one.
Right.
At the other end of the spectrum, when customers walk into our branches, and we need to encourage these customers to be digitally savvy, the ones who walk in, and we obviously can't shake hands with them, no paperwork. So we have deployed QR codes. So customers scan these QR codes, and then their requests get fulfilled. And then we tell them, that you can basically avail of the same facility by being at home. You don't need to walk to branches. So touchless UI UX is one. The other is, while everybody initially focused on digitizing the physical, because that was the gold rush, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit us last year. Over a period of time, what's happened is, even as digitization brings in efficiency, because bots are clinical, consistent, they work 24/7, but customers also need a healing touch, right? So there is a born-again need for human skills of empathy and care. So therefore, it's also now about humanizing the digital. How do you bring in conversational AI? How do you make, customers feel, much more comfortable with bots? So that again is an area, of focus. And increasingly, it's about blending the science of artificial intelligence with the art of customer centricity to bring in human-centric AI.
Yeah, so I think you're spot on. We are a microfinance-led institution, and that to a rural microfinance-led institution. That's our bigger asset book. Now, what's CX there? The CX there technically is not about getting a nice little digital, solution for them, because they don't know the digital. They don't have a mobile which has perhaps internet, or the internet connections are poor. It's not a smartphone. So what we've done is we've tried and made the onboarding experience more simple for them. So we onboard the rural client using complete tab-based solutions. Right from start to end of the loan, it's completely digital. However, We also open a savings account for every microfinance customer of ours. So the money goes into the savings account. That's true rural inclusion that we try to do. The financial inclusion, because of which we got a license of a SFB. Now, customer experience there actually is, how do you actually service the customer at the doorstep? That becomes the most important part of the customer experience as far as the microfinance business is concerned.
What about markets where a lot of people aggregate, maybe on a weekly basis or whatever? Are those opportunities to offer some more services, to interact with customers, to educate customers perhaps? Give examples of any challenges faced in giving the customers the personalized experience.
So we lend in villages which has even a population of say 100, 200, So
Really?
yes, it's
Wow.
that smaller village also where we lend to, So, why do you want the guy to come up to a market, So we kind of go there, and I think we have a very large workforce to be able to service every customer of ours. It's a group model. So it's not just one, it's 5, 8, 10, 12 customers, which you are able to go and service at the doorstep.
Okay. So Deepu, one example from your side.
Yeah, I think firstly to your query on what is the definition of personalization.
Yes.
I think for customers, it's a segmentation of one, right? Every customer wants a unique experience. I think that's clearly, what drives firms today. It's an aspiration, right? Clearly. Secondly, I think Manoj, ever since the pandemic has set in the last 1 year, I think one key driver which has helped personalization is because it's now digital, there's a lot of data available, because it's now, it's about tracking customers, digital footprints, right? Because whether it's data entry, whether it is servicing, whether it is claims, everything is happening digitally. Therefore, there's a lot of data which comes together. So personalization today is happening on two fronts broadly. One is, Manoj, because you asked about one, but I'll give you two quick examples. One, of course, is the classic way in which you collect data to basically give customers cross-sell and upsell, right? You give them specific product preferences based on their history with us. But increasingly, because of data and also now because of cloud, we have a data lake. We can also give personalized services. So that again is an area.
Okay. Priya, one example from your side.
Yeah, sure. So I think with the way the pandemic has reshaped the entire global economy, and it is not really, it's upended the way we purchase, the way we engage as consumers, and more and more need to have personalized services and experiences, and especially we're talking about customer experience today. If I were to give an example from a health insurance perspective, this category became extremely, it became like it took the center stage amidst the pandemic. Now, typically there are not too many products to choose from. There's a, holistic product which is comprehensive. But many insurers like ourselves, we brought in newer products, kind of targeting the needs of the consumers amidst COVID. Having a comprehensive product, having a super top up, which is especially targeting for high spends in the current market. I'll also give you an example from a personalization perspective, that each segments of consumers had different vulnerabilities to COVID. I mean, I'm talking about in relationship to COVID, and we had calls pouring into our call center. Some of it it was auto answered and personalization, and some examples that Deepu spoke about, same technology we used. But the worry was whether or not COVID is covered, how much coverage is available. All of that was there, and we were able to really create segments of customers who are vulnerable, like more than 65 years, people having comorbidities, and we were able to push content that is relevant for them. So, knowledge series, empowering them with information, because amidst COVID, it was not only about hospitalization, it was also about taking home care, preventing, certain preventive measures. So we pushed in a lot of personalized content for different segments of consumers so that we could empower them with the right information. Because as a health insurance company, it's not only about paying claims, it's also about making sure that the consumers are healthy. They, the worry, the anxiety from their mind is taken away. So I think those are best examples from my industry that I can quote. I would just also add, we did a lot of campaigning around mask zaruri hai, health ke saath health insurance zaruri hai, because this was the right time for the consumers to really protect their not only their health but also financial security as well amidst COVID. We know the amount of expenses and skyrocketing healthcare costs that went up. And it was important for us to empower them with the right information around health, and also empower them with financial security from a healthcare and health insurance perspective. So we did a lot of campaigning in that context.
Okay, that's great. Himanshu, can you share some examples or strategies that financial organizations are adopted to personalize, to serve customers better, to engage with customers, even on non-financial issues?
Absolutely. So I think, I mean, BFSI specifically, always used to do personalization, but if you're talking about digital personalization, then pandemic really accelerated the digital adoption and obviously personalization. So one is that all the BFSI and fintech insurance companies, they wanted to be where the customer is, right? And they have people from, let's say, a very young age, probably 18-year-old to 65-year-old calling their call centers. And I think it was realized that you have to be where your customer is, and your customer could be at one place or the other, right? So, for example, a millennial will probably prefer a WhatsApp message with you, while a 55-year-old person will probably call you, right? And the communication point for them is that preference. So, initially, what I saw is before pandemic, somebody used to call you, and then you started messaging them, email them, right? So that changed here, and everybody started thinking about an omni-channel journey where you have to be where the customer is, right? And even your response, let's say somebody sends you a WhatsApp, right? Your response has to be on WhatsApp, not okay. on an email, right? So that was one personalization journey, and then proactive outreach is also something we saw, as part of digital transformation. So let's say. We just launched the customer experience for the largest fintech in India, right? And what happened was, they were getting a lot of queries for, let's say, failed transactions, right? And then they had to create a message, then reach out and all those things. So we created a mechanism where deeply integrated with the systems, we automatically send those proactive messages to those people so that we reduce the call volume or the incoming messages. And also for a lot of insurance companies, we started the sales WhatsApp bot, right? And if, for example, if you're a family member of a particular person, and during COVID, the company wants to offer a particular customized plan for you, then we started building those interactive bots, and then obviously it could hand over to a person to close the.
Okay, that's interesting. So Mahendra, for your bank, did you need to scale up the manpower, and could you use AI?
Service part, yes, we did see a surge in terms of the number of calls in the call center. We quickly put up a chat bot, which we were able to, activate fairly fast.
Okay.
So that's what we tried to do. Probably, I think we did the chatbot in about a week's time. We were quick to quickly launch the chatbot, and luckily we had a WhatsApp banking, so we just had to do a copy paste more in terms of get the chatbot live. So that really helped speeden up the journey. But on the sales side, as I mentioned, for our savings account, which basically for any bank, the CASA, as they say, the current account savings balance is very important. So we quickly moved digital completely there. We started opening accounts, which we never did. We actually saw 4 times surge in volumes.
Okay, that's interesting. Deepu, I wanted to ask you, I mean, I know that Bajaj Allianz has had a very aggressive technology journey in the last few years.
See, Manoj, COVID-19 was, what colorfully we call a global unplanned UAT. Nobody was prepared for it.
Okay.
It just came and tested you. And obviously, you could not have transformed overnight. So we had already embarked on this journey, like how, Priya and Mahendra and Himanshu also clarified. What COVID did was, it just brought everything to the fore. Because for once you had a phenomenon which was not restricted to a particular geography, right? This was just global. Everybody was working from home.
Yes,
globally.
correct.
It's never happened before. Even if you look at bird flu, SARS flu, earthquake, any natural calamity, it's either, the duration has been short or the geography has been restricted. This was global. So I think, at that time, all our digital assets, came to the fore. Contact centers had to shut down. So our AI-driven bot kicked in, WhatsApp kicked in, our mobile app kicked in, our customer portal kicked in. So overnight, like you see in those bike ads, 0 to 100 kilometers in 4 seconds or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Digital servicing went up from 20% to 80% in a matter of maybe 2-3 days. And like how Priya mentioned about, a substantial percentage of policy issuance, paperless. The same thing at our end. more than 95% of our policies, get issued, digitally. Because at that time, nobody came to the office, right? Everybody used to work, remotely. So be it policy issuance, be it servicing, be it claims, everything happened digitally. So I think it just surged. And then it continued, it continued like that for a while.
Infrastructure was scalable to that extent.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have been in business, right?
I want to ask Himanshu, I mean, given your variety of customers that you have interacted with, customers and potential customers during the last 12 months since the lockdown, what have you seen as their expectations from a technology enabler like you?
I think when pandemic hit, right, a lot of organizations were not ready for working from home, for example, right? They had on-premise solutions, and I've seen people who are very anti-cloud turn into cloud evangelists during this pandemic, right? So obviously now see cloud adoption is part of all CIOs BCPs, right? Without cloud, I think such things will happen again, like Deepu was saying. So we as a company, people expect us to bring in obviously a customer experience, omnichannel experience with a tightly collaborated, let's say, CRM experience. And we also help a lot of companies from an employee experience perspective, right? Because it's equally important to get in touch with your own employees during such things, and obviously customers as well. So we bring in a combination of both employee engagement and customer experience together with enabling the sales force as well. So we have a tightly integrated CX plus CRM plus EX platform. So I think people reached out to us for helping them automate and digitize and bring out an omnichannel experience during this process. And obviously, the other thing that we saw is a huge surge in automation, AI automation, and bots, like Panel was also saying, right? So I've never seen such interest in bots, like last year. Even government approached us to, set up a COVID bot with IC. Okay. It was live on the Arogya Setu app. It was also working on a lot of other things. So I think, huge trend for automation, huge trend for AI, huge trend for cloud products, right? Because this is what enabled a lot of companies to still stay in touch with customers, give them even a better experience than before. And a lot of trends I'm seeing is in the CX space, especially is in chat, not only chatbot but also voice bots, for example, right? Okay. So like Mahindra was saying that with chatbots or digital platforms, it's a challenge for rural areas to work, right? So actually, I'm working with some government departments to automate their farmer call centers, right? So I think even government is now thinking about bringing on digital experience on voice. So we've seen a huge trend on that one as well.
Do you see a divergence or do you see a convergence between the fintechs and the universal financial service providers?
So I think
using technology.
Yeah, so fintechs usually used to build everything themselves, right? That was the thought process a couple of years later and back. But now their focus has changed into building their own product and leveraging technology from outside. I think core banking, for example, was probably a bit behind every other industry in terms of cloud adoption and technology adoption. But we've seen a lot of good traction in there as well. And I think insurance as an industry has been evolving. I have multiple customer in security and in the insurance vertical who want to digitize more and have already started a lot of initiatives of digitization. So although I think every industry has a different requirement, they do converge in a point of view where they want to get to, right? And they do want to take good practices from each other, right? For example, fintech, you can see a lot of digitalization and automation. So I think industries want to borrow from that. And even if you see neobanks, right? Neobanks are completely digital and their automation is also very high. So I think other core banking and BFSI industries also kind of taking from there.
Mahindra, if I may ask you, what has been your company's experience engaging with fintechs?
Yeah. So have we actively tied up with a fintech in terms of, like what they say, like Himanshu rightly pointed out, the neobanks or whatever, where we are the bank behind and the fintech is the player in the front. We haven't done that. We haven't yet done that. But yeah, we also believe that neobanks will probably, act as catalyst to the banking sector. While I think banks will have to continue to be phygital. But what I mean by phygital is have a physical presence as well as have a digital presence.
Deepu, what has been your organization's experience with fintechs? Very briefly.
Manoj, if you see, there are two kinds of partnerships you can have. One is, of course, where new challengers and new kids on the block challenge the existing players, so which is where the straightforward competitive element comes in. The other is you also have players who do not become full-fledged carriers, but they basically pick one part of the value chain and then they offer a solution. So they become co-creation partners, right? So we obviously work with some of them, right? So be it in the area of claims, for example, we have moved away from a surveyor-driven multiple day claims process to a customer-driven AI and machine vision-based technology by which we can clear car claims in as low a time as 30 minutes. So that's one area. Similarly, we've leveraged blockchain for travel claim fulfillment, whereby the customer doesn't even have to initiate the claim process with us.
Priya, if I may ask you now, since you're from insurance, do you see insurtechs and fintechs, do you see more of similarities in their approach, or are there some differences? Do insurtechs think differently?
Yeah, I mean, fintech and insurtech, there is definitely similarities and, the solution orientation. And as Deepu mentioned, it's all about disrupting the value chain, because the consumer experience and the expectations about buying and servicing and, kind of ongoing engagement remains almost similar, because the products are different. So I would say there's a lot of synergy and similarity, and there's a lot that can be learned, across the value chain. So, we have a lot of insurtech companies and fintech companies borrowing technology, as well as, solution stack from each other. And just to extend what Deepu mentioned, it's about coexisting and co-creating. So a lot of companies as a ecosystem players, are coming together to really solve the complex consumer problem. Because no more it is about you against the other. It is more about how do you solve the customer problem from outside in rather than inside out. So that's what I would say, Manoj.
My final question is this, all these nice things to have, but there's a cost attached to it. So what kind of costs are rising? What kind of costs are coming down? And do you see these, does the management overall see these costs are reasonable?
So I'll go first, Manoj. There is an inverse, relationship with innovation and digitization and digitalization and all the technologies that we talk about. So it's about economies of scale and really operating in a batch mode to really bring down the cost. So optimize the cost, bring down the cost, increase the customer experience and saliency and satisfaction, including the experience, so to say. And also amidst all of this, bring down your overall operating cost and increase the value for the consumer. That's the way management and all the leaders, all of us are thinking. Innovation should not be at the cost of increase in premiums and increase in cost that is getting passed back to the consumer. You got to really bring down the cost. You got to really bring in more value, and at the same time, think, keep forward thinking.
I think, Manoj, I echo what Priya had to say. I think the key is when you adopt digital, there are two things to keep in mind. One is it's not a hobby. You need to pick the use cases which bring in the volume, because otherwise you will invest and you will not get benefits. And the other is adoption at scale has to happen.
Mahindra, what is your organization's take on all kinds of costs, including technology costs?
Okay, so we continuously battle, the operational cost ratio, the OCR as we call it,
Okay.
And that's a key indicator, and we kind of keep looking at that. But coming specifically to adoption into digital or technology or AI-driven solutions, and how do you justify those costs? I think Deepu said it right. It's scale which helps, ultimately make this cost justified. And as he rightly said, something which goes digital has to be reduced manual. So technically the persons or people who used to do manual have to be redeployed. And that's the proof of the pudding. How do you do this? and how do you cut the gestation period down of what you're doing? I think that's the key.
Okay.
Digital is fine, but if you're going to say, I'm going to build something that's going to take me X amount of months or years, to kind of break even that cost, I don't think anybody's keen on listening to that anymore. I think it is do it now and do it immediately. So I think that plays a very key role.
So Himanshu, what is your take on cost versus innovation versus ROI versus scaling up? All those. How does your company look at it when you talk to customers?
So I think two main criteria that customers are actually the management is looking at, right? In each customer, CEOs, CIOs, CEOs, operational leaders. What is the cost of losing a customer, right? That's the main focus. Like acquiring a customer is more costly than retaining a customer. So I think a lot of focus is there. And the other focus is obviously internal operational efficiency, right? So if you, let's say you implement AI automation on chatbots, right? If you remove it, I'll talk about fintech again. One fintech company, if they remove our bot platform, they'll have to hire 10x employees, right? So there is a direct cost associated with not adopting technology as well. While the intention of every company is not to reduce the existing workforce, but to obviously scale, like every panelist has said. How do you scale in future? You can't hire tons of people to do the customer engagement. And obviously, that's a direct ROI. So main two aspects. One is giving the customers experience that using those they will be your customers. One good example that I give everybody is I pay a lot of money for Amex card every year. A lot of banks offer me free credit card. I don't take it because of the customer experience, right? So that's what I think people understand. And then the obviously the cost of not implementing something is what people have understood as well. So I think there's a direct cost benefit. I think it's just about choosing the right platform that will work for you in your cost and budget.
We have 2-3 questions. Can we have an India stack like open architecture to democratize healthcare system and make it more accessible and easily available? Is anything happening in this area?
I can touch base on that. So if you've heard about the Step 1 project, right? Freshworks is hosting that platform. There are 10,000 doctors on the panel. It's live across 26 states and cities right now. So if you call COVID helpline in Maharashtra, Gurgaon, Delhi, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, they will land on that platform we've built. And right now it's free for all. So millions of COVID screenings done. And I've been talking to those people, and I think there is government has almost agreed to open sourcing this kind of platform.
And do insurance companies, are they looking on some kind of open platforms to engage with each other?
So if you look at some of the best case studies across the world, and Australia is one example, and a couple of other countries as well, there is something called as an electronic data interface through which all insurance companies and consumers come together on a single vault. And there's a lot of work that NDHM and the government is currently investing in creating that stack for everyone to come onto a single vault and interact and engage, and some bit of standardization on rates and healthcare outcome based accountable care models that are coming in. But it is a long journey. We have a long way to go.
Okay, there's another question. How can AI be leveraged to manage BCP related issues in a banking organization?
Yeah, in fact, one thing which firms have done, when you talk about BCP, various aspects, especially in today's context, in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of figuring out various patterns, AI has been leveraged, because a lot of it which otherwise would have required human beings to monitor, is being monitored by machines. It looks at patterns and then it figures out ways in which it can be leveraged.
So that was the last question. I'd like to close this panel discussion. Well, from my side then, and from Banking Frontiers, thank you all very much.
Thank you all
for a very informative and engaging panel discussion.
Thank you, Manoj and Banking Frontiers, for touching upon such an important topic of customer experience and evolving technology to support it. So really appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Himanshu. And thank you, Deepu. Thank you, Manoj.
Thank you. Thank you very much.